Good morning. Janet Wilson here from Dernier Publishing. Just wait for my little blue wheel to stop spinning. It's a beautiful day here in London. Oh, looks like we're here. Fantastic. So, hello, my name's Janet Wilson. I'm from Dernier Publishing. We produce Christian books for kids, and I also run a resource for Christians who aspire to write novels for children and teens. And here we are with a little video today on pace. Now, I did a little video yesterday with some ideas on how to improve the pace of your story. And there's so many of them. I thought I'd just pop on and give some more today. So today's going to give three ideas, and I hope you will going to find those really useful. Now, pace, of course, is an absolutely essential thing. We don't want our readers to kind of feel a bit bogged down and go, we want them to keep reading even when there's a slower part of your story. So there may be a place where your characters have found perhaps a treasure box, so they might be tiptoeing slowly up the stairs, listening out for what's happening, creeping into the room, sliding under the bed, hearts beating. So, of course, that would be quite a slower part of the story. And you will have faster things, perhaps when they grab it and run back down the stairs again. So, pace is going to vary throughout your story. But the one thing you do is to keep your novel going at the right pace. So, you don't want to have little bits where it's just too slow, where people lose interest. If it's so slow with the children going up the stairs to find the treasure box, it's boring. So you want to have your readers gripped. So here are some more ways that you can improve the pace of your story. Now, the first one is to cut out unnecessary polite conversation, pleasantries, hello, how are you? Kids hate that kind of stuff. We don't need to know, how are your neighbours, and hope you're all keeping well, and what happened last night, and that was a great football game, wasn't it? If it has nothing to do with the plot. So try and cut out any of these little sort of thank you so much and taking people to the door and explaining how they walk along, and she opens the door and they say goodbye and they wave from the window. If it's not necessary, if it's not a part of your plot and you don't really need it in there, cut it out. Just move quickly on to the next scene. If you don't need to say that they had breakfast, say so you're going to go through all what they ate and what they had on their plates and what they didn't like and all that kind of stuff. Just don't do it. Just say they had breakfast and zipped out the door. Just keep it as simple as that. That will keep your pace flowing. So that's the first tip. Cut out unnecessary polite conversation. All these little pleasantries that we say in everyday life, of course we do, but you don't necessarily need them. Try and trim them as much as you can. Okay. Point two is cut out repeats. Now, it's too easy to, for example, explain Sam was feeling like this, and he was talking about this to his mum, and he was wondering about these things, and then have Sam go and say to a friend or a brother or a teacher or whatever, I've been thinking about these things and I've been wondering about that, and I talked to my mum about this. And before you know it, you've written the whole thing twice. Well, of course, readers don't need to read it twice. They only need to read it once. So pick the best place to have that information in, either when he's talking to his mum, or when he's talking to a friend later, or however you want to do it, or split it up into half. But make sure that you don't have repeats, because it's dull, it's boring. Readers don't need to read it twice. They only need to read it once, and it will keep your story going at a better pace. So that tip one was cut out unnecessary polite conversation. Tip two is cut out repeats. It's worth going through your work in progress and see if you've done any of those. Just a thought. Just read it through and have a see if there's anything that you've done now, because it's easier to do than you think. I know from experience. Number three is cut unnecessary scenes. So, for example, We had a story that we published in Dernier Publishing, and originally the author had added in an extra scene, and it was when two boys were in a boat on a lake in Rwanda, and something happened. I think it was a hippo knocked the boat, and the boys got knocked out, and it was very a dangerous scenario, and it was a gripping scene, but it didn't add anything to the story that we were producing, that Mary was writing. So we cut it. It's not that it wasn't a good scene; it was a brilliant scene, and she can always use it for a future story. But if your scene doesn't show character, set the scene in some way, or move the plot forward to the end, you probably don't need it. So keep it. I mean, by all means, keep your hard work, but cut it out if it isn't necessary. The important thing here for pace is to know where you were at the beginning of the story, where you're heading for the end, and try and go straight there. So if you've got an aside about a lake with the hippos, however gripping the scene, however nice the scene is, if you don't need it, readers will be wondering, what was that? What was that about? Because in our heads we understand story structure. We know that if something is brought in, there's a reason for it. You will find that in any police drama, or well, any film that you watch or book that you read. Everything that the author has brought in, if they're a good author or a good writer, screenwriter, whatever, everything that is in that will pertain to the story. There'll be a reason for it being there. So no new characters will be introduced that aren't necessary to the plot. I mean, unless they're a deliberate red herring, and that's fair enough, because that means it is integral to the plot. But you don't have all these extraneous things. So that's another tip on pace. Cut out any scenes that aren't necessary. This might well be breakfast with the family, to go back to the original the original tip. Things that you don't need, cut them out. That will help your pace. So there you go. Cut out unnecessary polite conversation, cut out any repeats that you might have, and cut out any scenes that aren't necessary for moving your plot towards the end. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. In our Write for a Reason Academy, we go through actually 3 weeks, 3 whole modules on the plotting of your book. And if you have found this video helpful at all, you will find that helpful. So week 1, one of the weeks we look at gripping beginnings, and you can actually get that module completely free. Pop over to the website. I'll put the link up underneath, or on the top, or wherever you happen to be seeing this. There will be a link somewhere. And then we look at plotting, so how to put all the trials together, the difficulties, and the good things that are going to be happening to your characters along the way. And then we'll look at the endings, and how what is needed for there and what isn't, and how to keep your theme going through. That'll be another module. And writing the message in your story is another module. So how you can keep your pace going all the way through, we will be looking at that all the way through the Write for a Reason Academy. So hope to see you there. I'd love to be able to help you more. Don't forget, if you feel that you have been called to write, if you're an aspiring writer, you want to get your story out into the world, somebody's probably waiting for your story. So don't delay. The Write for a Reason Academy now, I've set it up so that you can join at any time. You don't have to wait for the beginning of a new term, a new group setting. So hope to see you there, and hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.